Then check if the user is always present in the system. Then append 1, then append 2, then append 3, like that. But this is not like a standard process. This is not a thumb rule. Password can be provided in multiple ways. We can also provide password through here. We can also go with the default password. If you don't have AD account, you cannot log into your Windows laptop. User always will be joined by HRMS team. But some company also use AD as an authority system. So when they are using AD, actually what they are doing from the HRMS, they are sending data to AD actually. Here it's a dependency on the AD write. So basically, first initial original data was present in the HRMS. Then it come back to AD write. And from the AD, we can bring the data into Sailpoint. But this is again decision by the organization. This is by the business. So you can also bring the data from the HRMS to the Sailpoint system, and you can also bring the data from AD to Sailpoint. So when we're referring the HRMS, we are not talking about the whole HRMS system. We are only talking about that particular table which contains the real employee in the organization. Here HRMS means HR record, where we can see, okay, these are all the employee, whether the new employee or existing employee, basically, or the new joiner or pre-hire or the future hire. It doesn't matter. We need a record where HR is saying that these are the real users of the organization. We have completed all the background process and everything. Now, these are the new users. Now, based on the date, we need to decide whether the user is active, inactive, pre-hire, post-hire. Sometime, what happens? HRMS team put data into their system, but user will join in after 30 days. So we call it as pre-hire. Now there are basically two possibilities. So first, this is for sure, this is the flow. HRMS will be the source. Now there are two possibilities. First one is, from the HRMS data will go to AD system, and from AD, we will bring data to Sailpoint. The second possibility is directly from the HRMS to the Sailpoint system. If you see about the latest HRMS software, that is a Workday. So now HRMS is basically replaced by the Workday system. Now Sailpoint is directly bringing data from Workday to Sailpoint in most of the organization. So this is the most widely used case. So now from here, basically, first thing we will do is simple. There are multiple ways of writing down all those. First is basically based on the date. We have to perform operation. For example, if the user is pre-hired, data is coming for user. But user will basically join the organization after 30 days. So we will not assign any account. Or maybe we will assign the account, but we will assign account in the disabled state. Active employee who is joining today. So what we will do? So we will simply set initial attribute. Like your first name, last name, or any modifications required. Department. Password, default password. If you want to do the default password, those things. Second. First is basically set the initial attribute. This is an optional. Every organization has this process, not mandatory. But the second is mandatory. Birthright application. When I say birthright, that means default application that will be applicable to all the user or are specific to departments. For example, if you are joining to payroll, what will be the minimal access we need to provide to you? That is called birthright application. Third one is application. And other entitlements assigned to you based on the business use cases. For example, we have all the details in your identity profile that is coming from the HRMS that you are joining as a super admin in the payroll department. So we have to define that logic. If the user comes from the HRMS and the user has that role super admin dash, then we need to assign some specific application. So that thing we have to write down. But this is the general we use. Then last one is manager notification. Manager and actually user notification both. So basically what we do, user come into Sailpoint, we will assign the basic default access that is called birthright application. If user fulfilling some criteria and we have defined some process, if user belong to this department and this role, user should have this access. So that will provide it in the step number 3. Once all the access are done, then we will notify manager and the user. Okay, these are the accesses provided to you. This is the username. This is the password. This is a URL. You can now log into Sailpoint system. This is basically a simple joiner workflow process. So HRMS only will hold basic information like your first name, last name, department. So when you bring the user in the ID warehouse, you will see this user right. And after that we have to trigger events. That is a joiner event. The joiner event, basically, will follow these steps. In that case, the joiner event. Whatever we have mentioned in the joiner event, those application will be assigned to user. For example, let's say we have here 2 application, financial and track application. We say, okay, if user is coming from the, let's say, department payroll, we have to assign financial application. So that logic we have to write inside the joiner event. Okay, and then when the event complete, the event you can track here. If you go here in the events, here, you will track that event. That joiner trigger for this user. And these are the accesses provided to this user on that particular joiner event. So Sailpoint is creating your account on the AD system. So Sailpoint is creating account on the payroll system. But based on your company authentication, you know approach that they are using. Authentication will go by that way. For example, you are using Octociso. Okay. Or let's say you are using some other SSO. Okay, so that other SSO, whatever mechanism they have configured based on that, you will log in. For example, you will log into payroll system. Okay, so Sailpoint created your account in the payroll system. Now you have your payroll interface. Something like, for example, let's say, this is your payroll interface. Okay, now here you will provide your username and password. When you click on the login, how your organization is set up, the authentication based on that it will trigger. But it will not go to Sailpoint route. Sailpoint job is only to create your account on the payroll. Sailpoint job is basically to make sure you have right account with the right access on the payroll system. You should not have any additional access. And when you leave the organization, you will not have access immediately. If you are going for leave of absence, let's say you are saying that I need a break. I'll be not working for next 3 months. 6 months, that is leave of absence. Basically you are an employee, but in a disabled state. So Sailpoint needs to disable all the access immediately. That is a control. Basically, so what we'll do. On the payroll system, Sailpoint will update that you are an active employee, so when you click here, it will not work. So Sailpoint job is to only create, delete account. Provide you access. So the application happened totally different way. We have multiple applications in every organization. But AD has a different significance. Without AD, you cannot log into Windows laptop. So AD is a must application. So that's why, whenever a user joins, the first application we assign is 99%. We assign the AD application. So AD is itself a big system.